Today in this video, we are going to see about the results section. First, we will start with how to collect the results in Neoload, how to export or import and set up SLA in the results section, how to prepare the report by effectively taking the metrics from the result, how to create the graphs from the results section and use it effectively in the performance test report. Please do subscribe to our channel, like and comment your feedback. Please share it with your friends and keep supporting. Let's now go to the video. So as discussed, we have completed the load test and now we are going to see the summary of the load test that we have executed, and we are going to see how to collect the data in an effective manner so that the client and the other stakeholders can understand the results and we can infer the information out of it. So let's start. So once the test is over, we will have to move to the results tab, and under results tab, we have test summary, we have values tab, we have graphs, we have errors tab, we have alerts tab, and we have logs tab. So first let's start with the test summary, and under summary, so this is the dashboard of the summary page, and under summary we'll see we can see the name of the test that we have executed and the status of the test, whether it is passed or failed or stopped. So there are like various status. So if you have stopped it in the middle, the status would be stopped. And if there are any failures, then you can see it has failed. Since in this test, we have not observed any errors, so the status is now in a passed status. And also we can see the start date with the time and the end date and the time. And the duration of the test and the termination reason. So termination reason is the execution policy, since we have set up the test for 35 minutes. So based on that reason, the execution has completed. So that's the reason for the termination, and it shows execution policy. And then what are all the local hosts, the load generator host we have added. So in case if you have added multiple load generators, you can see them in the list. And then which project is the script available. So this shows the project location and which scenario are you using. So here you can see under runtime, we have this scenario, and this was the population we have used. So in case if you're using multiple populations, you can see all those populations here, like whatever populations you have. So you can see multiple populations that has been used under this load policy and the stop policy. And then we have this filter. So in case if you have added any filters that we have discussed in our previous video, any filters if you have added, you can see those in the filters part, and any debug thing. So if you have enabled this debug, so here is the debug part. So if you have enabled the debug during load test, so it will be enabled, but it's a best practice that disabling the debug part before the load test is always a good practice. So make sure it is disabled before your test. And then let's move to the statistics summary. So here we can see the various statistics summary of the test that we have executed. So to start with, we have this total pages. So this is actually the total number of pages that have been tested or played. And then we have this total requests. So this is actually the total number of hits that we have played. So the pages and the hits will be totally different. And then we have this total number of users launched. So that's the total number of users that we have used for test. So there are some scenarios where in some cases where you will be adding the users in the middle of the test to do any stress or spike testing. So when you're doing that, so there will be a change in the difference of the users from the start of the test. And then we have this total iterations completed. So based on the duration, we can see how many iterations have been completed in the actions container. So this is actually the iteration of the actions container that is executed for each virtual user. So here I'm running with only one script. So you can see that total number of iterations that we have completed here. And then we have this total throughput. So this is throughput is actually the sum of the size of the responses to all the requests that we have played. And this does not include any upstream. So it's just the size of the responses of all the requests that we have tested or we have played. And then we have the total request errors. So this is the total number of hits with errors. And since we don't have any errors here, so it's 0. And then we have this total action errors. So this is the total number of logical actions with errors. So in case if you have any actions, so actions in the sense like something you have taken it from here, the delay or loop or while or if then else switch. So whatever any of these actions that failed, so those errors will be displayed here in the action errors. And then we have this average pages per second. So this is the average number of pages played per second or average number of pages that is tested per second. And then we have this average request per second. So this is the average number of hits per second. So the same way. So here is the total pages and then the average pages. And here is the total request and here is the average request. And then we have this average request response time. So this is the average of requests. The request response time, the total number of pages and taking the average out of the total response time. And then we have this average page response time. So this is the average of pages response times. And then we have this average throughput. So this is the average throughput for the server responses for the downstream. And then we have this error rate. So this is the percentage of hits with errors out of the total number of hits. So since we don't have any errors, again, we did not find any errors here. And we have this alerts total duration. So in case if there are any alerts, we could have seen it here. And this is how the test have ramp up. So you can see here this test has ramped down, ramp up after the 5 minutes of previous monitoring. And then it went to a steady state. And then slowly it started to ramp down. And then it ended at the 45th minute. And here you can see the response times and the requests. So most of the times it will be in the sync. So they will be like overlaid on each of them. It should be in a synchronous way. So that's how it is expected. If there are any spikes or if there are any dips, then we can easily identify that there could be some bottlenecks. Let's now move to this execution context. So here it shows some basic things. So if you have added any zones for monitoring, we could have find that, and then any constant variables that we have used during the testing. And these are some of the other contents that we require for the results. And let's now move to the servers. So this is a server that we have used for testing, which means the end client. I mean the application server that we have used for testing. And then this is the populations part. So this actually shows us the response time. So what was the maximum response time, or like how does the response times behave during the entire test? And then we have this user path. So this will actually shows us the total number of response times. I mean the total response times, how much we have, the count of the users and all those consolidated count. And the transactions part is the important page that we require for reporting. So here we have this user path. So the user path is the script name which I have tested, and these are the transactions starting from 02 to 03 and till this sign out. So and whatever the response times which we see here are given in seconds. Say for example, like for the number 2 enter the store. So this is the response time, which is 0.284 is the response time, 0.284 second, and the average is around 1.22 seconds, and the maximum is 5.66 second. And the total count, I mean the total number of hits for this particular transaction is 74. And again, you can see here from the start of the test till the end, you can see 74. And this is because during runtime, I have selected indeterminate as the stop policy. And that's the reason I could get the correct number of n transactions here. And in the middle, you could have seen differences. This is because I have used multiple cases. And that's the reason the numbers have been distributed across all these numbers. Apart from that, every values are same. And this count you see here is the number of past transactions, and ERR, that is the error, is the number of failed transactions. And the total of count plus error will be the total number of transactions. Okay, so So this is how the reports will be. I mean, the tables for each and every. So in case if you are like testing multiple scripts, then you might get for each and every script. And okay, so apart from that, let me tell you, I mean, how to extract the data from here. Let's now go to this pages. So this pages will show us again the breakup of all these transactions. But it is always advisable to take the container response time instead of the individual transaction, because there might be multiple requests along for every folder. So it is always advised to take the folder, I mean the transactions response times. The media, we don't have any media contents, so there are no any content in it. And again, the same for push messages. So in case if we have added any monitors for the external system, then we could have seen it here and the scenarios. So based on the scenario, we can see the results. I mean, how does it work and everything. And we have various other graphs, the average response time graph and the average request response time, and how about the errors and other those things. So let's now move to the, so this is about the test summary. It gives an overall idea about the test summary. And let's now move to the second tab, the values. So this values will have the individual data for each and every of its request. Say for example, we have this enter store, and here, see, in case if we want to do any root cause analysis for any errors or any issues, we can come to this page and we can see how does it work. So here we can have option to choose this minimum duration, the maximum duration, and how about the elements and everything. So using this, we can easily identify if there are any issues or any bottlenecks in the application. So this is used for that purpose. And we have this graphs. So let me show you how to add a graph here. So basically, we used to collect multiple graphs for the reporting part. I can show you one by one. So normally, okay. So if you want to add any graph window, just if you want to add any new graph board, just click on this button, plus button, and you'll get a new graph board. If you want to close it, just click on remove and it will be closed. So for now, let me add you a graph. First, let's start with the hits per second and throughput. So I'm adding the throughput here. And then we will add the user load. Then we'll add the request and errors per second. Since the user load is around 10 and the throughput and the other metrics were very less, it was not up to the mark. So what we can do is like we can make some changes in the scaling. So I'm giving a 0.1. So in that, so once we give that, what happens is like automatically the scale will increase and we can easily compare it. We can easily correlate the values. So here we can do this scaling thing and we can actually use it for correlation. So it's always good to have a graph in this way so that it will be easy for everyone to understand. So here you can see the throughput and the request per second were in a sync. I mean, like both of them look alike. So based on whenever you see any increase in the throughput, automatically the number of requests, whenever there's increase in request, automatically the throughput also will get increased. And whenever there is a dip, whenever there's a fall, automatically it will also get down. So that's how the throughput and the requests, the request and the hits per second will be given. And then we have this user load part. So once during the ramp up, automatically there will be a huge ramp up of the throughput and the hit. So automatically once it gets into the steady state, so there will be the same amount of spikes and lows. And then towards the ramp down, automatically they will start to get down. So this is how we have to give it. And then to make any changes here, just right click on it, go to the properties window. And this is what we are going to give us hits per second versus throughput graph. So we can change it here. Hits per second versus throughput. And then we can, if you want to make it a very big one, I mean, if you want to make it the font very big, you can make the changes here. And we can also select the font selection here. And in case if you want to keep it bold or italics or whatever, any formatting part you can take care of here. And then we have this timing part. So one thing which I would advise is always keep the time to be in absolute instead of relative, so that whatever the time, the exact time that you have executed the test, you can actually see it here. And then let's go to the plot. So the plot is this particular axis. So let's change it to absolute time, since we changed the absolute time. And which time zone you have executed, it's always good to say for example, if you're running it from India, so I can keep it as IST. Or if you're running it from a different time zone, you can keep that time zone here, so that it will be easily everybody can correlate or relate to the values. And then again, you have the option to change or to make any formatting changes here. And again, you have this range axis. So in case if you want to make any change in the axis part also, we can make it. And then we have this other, but it's not required. So for now, we have to make changes in the general and the plot. And then once you click OK, you can see the differences here. So this is how the graph will be. And if you want to export it, there are options to do that. You can copy the graph and you can paste it, or else you can click on export. And if you want to click export it as an image, you can click export as image, and you can save it here as a PNG or JPEG file, whatever you want in any format. In case if you want to click copy the image into clipboard, then you can click copy image in clipboard and you can paste it wherever it's required. Or else if you want to export the data in a CSV file format, yeah, we can do that. Let me show you that value. Okay. So this is one graph which we normally use for reporting, and then we use the other graph, which is the average response time. So let me take it. So once you come to this template tab out of this 4 tabs, go to this each transaction statistics and select the average duration and drag and drop it here. So this will give you the average response time of all the transactions which you have along with your user load. And if in case if you want to make any changes in the color, just double click on the color. The color box will pop up, select whatever color you want, and then click OK. Automatically it will be changed. So same way, if you want to make any changes here, just right click, go to the properties, user load versus average response time. Select absolute, make it absolute time. Click OK. And now you are done. In case if you want to increase or decrease the font size, you can do it. So here you can see all the transactions that you have. And this is very comfortable or very easy for you to identify like which transaction has taken more time. So here you can see 5.66. And also here you can find like which transaction has taken more time. So this will be very easy for you to find which transaction has taken more time. And in case if you want to see, or like if you want to scale it, you can just double click on the scale part, make it as 0.5. So this will give you a clear picture that during this particular load or during the steady state, the response time has increased. Okay, so these are the 2 graphs. So in case if you have any monitoring data of any CPU or memory, you can also do it. So since I'm having only the host CPU load, so let me just show you how to do it. So I'm just drag and dropping in the CPU load and the memory used. So memory used will be in a separate one, and then I can bring the user load here. Same way I can drop the user load for the memory, and I can increase the user load to 10 so that it will be a little bit easy for us to compare. So let me just change it to 5. Yeah. So it'll be easy for us to understand like any metrics we can actually drag and drop and add whatever the metric that we want. We can just drag and drop it and we can create the graph. Okay. So let's now move to the errors part. So since we don't have any errors, So this page is empty. If we have any errors, I think we can discuss in some of our next session, like with different response codes. We'll see what are they and how to do it. But in case if there are any errors, we can easily filter out it here. And actually, it's very easy for us to find, like, is there a data error or any environment error or any server error? So we can easily find it here. And then if there are any alerts, we can see them here. And we have this logs window. So any logs that happened during the testing, so we can see that here. This is the logs of the machine that I have tested. But apart from that, if there are any logs from the server or anything from the application machine, we can actually see it here. So this is a quick summary, and let me just show you how to take this response time. So let's now go to this transactions part again. And here we have this response time. So let me just copy paste it. So we have taken all these response times. Let me copy it. So now I'm opening the Excel. So that will be easy for us to consolidate the results. So you don't need to, it's always not advisable to take this user path, this init actions or end. In case if you have any transactions inside init, then you can take it. But apart from that, it's not required to take any of the init folder or the actions or the end folders. So now we are into the Excel. So let me just paste it. Okay, so now we have all the values here. So we can name it as transactions. This will be your minimum. Average and maximum. This will be our pass transactions and the number of failures. And apart from that, you can remove all other values. They are not required for now. You can remove them. So these are the values which you want, which are going to show as part of your reporting. And okay, so apart from this, I think you can actually remove these things. The case one, since case one is the folder, so you can remove this case one also. Case one is not a transaction or it's not a request. Case two, same. Since I have used a script which has multiple cases, so I had this. Also, you can remove all the containers, all the actions. Just make sure you have this only the transactions, and also just align them. I'm just giving you a basic thing. So this is how you have to collect the report. So now we have all these transactions, the minimum, the average, maximum, the pass, and the fail transactions. Okay. So you can easily understand, like, for each transactions, what is the minimum response time, or what is the average and what is the maximum. And then you have this graphs part, which I have already taken. So just right click on it, click copy, and wherever you want, either it is a Word file or a Excel file, you can paste it there. So just right click, copy image and clipboard. So you can get the graphs here, and this is how it will be very clear. You can get the results here, and this will show you what are all the metrics or what are all the units that you have for this monitoring part. And apart from this, okay, and in case if you want to export the results, we have an option called export the just go to this test summary, and then go to the tools, and if you click on result manager, we can in case if you are running the test in a licensed environment with multiple machines, then actually you can upload this file to the server. So in case if you want to open this result on a different machine, you can do it. And here there are like multiple options, like what are all the details that we have. So we have the statistics part, And then we have these SLA profiles in case if you have any SLAs defined. So you can add that SLAs here, and you can define it for any of your metric, like for average response times or for your page response time. You can easily add them. So I'm giving an warning when it is 5, failed when it is more than 10. So we can add these here. Then we can click this SLA profile. In case if you want to apply this SLA profile, you can click it. In fact, if you want to select for even any particular page, we can do it. And then let me click on this next, and I'm clicking on finish. So in case if you want to make a copy of the SLA profile, you can do it with this button. In case if you want to make any changes, we can make any changes with this. And if you want to export this SLA to the other machine, we can do it using this icon. And if you want to import, you can do this with this import service level agreement profile. And if you want to copy it into a design, we can use it this button. And then we have this filters. So in case if you want to apply any filters to the result, we can actually click on this filters button. Let's again go to the result manager, and then in fact, if you want to do any comparison of your test, you can actually create a comparison result. So say for example, these are the two tests, like the load test 1 will be your label A, which you want to compare, and then if you want to compare it with the other test, you can easily compare. So for many of the test cases, like if you are running multiple regression test, so this will actually help us to create a comparison of the result, comparison of the test. So I'm just clicking on compare. So since both of them are same test, we will not find any differences, but still in any of your cases which you are running two different tests with the two different timing metrics, you can easily, it will be easy for you to compare. So in all the pages, starting from your summary page, you can see whatever metrics you have for the test A and for the test B. You can easily create a comparison. And again, for the transactions page, you can see what is the average for A and what is the average for B. What is the maximum for A, what is the maximum for B. So this will actually help save you a lot of time when you are creating a summary report for two different tests. Same way for all the metrics, you can have it. And then we have this import data. So in case if you want to import any data from a different machine or from a different test, you can do it here. So let's now generate a report. Let me click on this generate report. So this will actually generate, there are two options, like one is a standard report and other one is a comparison report. So let's first start with the standard report. So I'm clicking on next. And then it will ask what are all the contents we have to add. So starting from the content which we had in the test, whatever cases we want, we can add it. So make sure that we select the graph boards also and click on next. And this will show you the location where we want to extract or where we want to generate. And we have multiple formats as well. We have Word, PDF, HTML, and the XML format. In fact, we can also customize the report into presentation. But for now, let me just take it in a Word format so that it will be easy for us to copy paste, or in case if you want to send it to a client, so you can actually take it in a PDF format as well. And let me click on finish. So the report is generated successfully in the location that we wanted. So we can open it here once we want it. And then we have this test folder. So once you click on test folder, this will take us to the test folder thing. So whatever data or values we have. So this is actually the test folder of the test that we have executed. And in case if you want to remove this result, so just click on remove and automatically the result will be removed. But make sure you have all the data before you do this removal in case if you are removing it. And then let's now go to this tools. Let's go to this results manager. Okay, so now it's over. Okay, so in case if you want to open this results in a browser, so you can click on this open in browser, and we can get the results in a browser format in HTML format also. So the same way, so whatever we see in the Neoload tool, we have all these summary in the HTML format. So this is how we can actually use the reporting part. So that's a quick overview about this results part. So one last thing in the report, in the graph part. So in case if you want to remove any of the transactions from your graph, just select this view. Select this, uncheck this box, and that particular transaction will be removed. And if you, in case if you want to add it, just select the tick and automatically it will be selected. So this is one last thing about this graphs part. And I think you have understood how to use the results for your reporting part. I hope this session would be very useful for you. Let's meet in another different session on performance testing. Thank you so much.